What is up, YouTube? It's your boy SmackNPie here, aka the guy here, and welcome to a very special video with a very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Inferno. Introduce yourself to the world.
Hello everybody, what is up, InfernoKun? Of course you know me, you're probably already subscribed, right?
That's a little bit stretched, but whatever.
Oh no.
Anyways, today we're gonna do something really interesting, something that we haven't done forever, and that is death predictions for episode 3 of Skybound's The Walking Dead final season, Broken Toys. I know I stretched it a little bit, but we're gonna do it something like this. Both of us, me and Inferno, we're gonna do our 3 picks, 3 people who we're gonna think are gonna die by the end of episode 3. They could be anyone from mid-card to the higher people, so that's how it's gonna work. We're gonna take each turns one by one. We're gonna tell like who we think is gonna die, and we're gonna explain a little bit. So is that all cool?
Yes indeed. Should be a pretty cool video. I normally do these quite a lot, and they're very fun to make because you get to talk about who's gonna die and why, and you might be wrong, but that's okay because it's all fun.
Yeah, because death in video games is always fun. Yay. But yeah, without further ado, before we begin, can we get this video to 500 likes? And without further ado, let's do this.
Okay, so starting off kinda light, I guess. This one was kind of a hard one to go ahead and think about because it could happen beforehand or it could happen in the episode itself, and that is Sophie. That's of course Minerva's twin sister, also Ten's adoptive sister. So we know that of course the Delta camp, they took both Sophie and Minerva, but so far in the trailer and everything else, we only heard about Minerva. So there has to be something that's going to be a big point of what happened to Sophie, because looking at Minerva, she's over here, she's all well, she's doing what she has to do, she's probably on the side of the Delta. But looking at Sophie, you might have something else going on there where she is already dead. When of course when the episode starts, she could obviously already be dead. But then we have the option of her actually dying in episode 3, which could lead to some other plot points. Like, let's say it's kind of a bit, weird to think about, because looking at if she's already dead, you kind of go into why would Minerva still want to be at the Delta and be on their side. But then if she's still alive, you would kind of go into whether or not she's actually there to go ahead and protect Sophie. Minerva is to protect Sophie, and that could be a really cool dynamic that I think could benefit either way, with her either being dead already or her actually dying in episode 3. What do you think about that?
That's a really interesting pick, Sophie, because we haven't heard anything. We got no concept arts. We don't know how, what's the overall, apart from that she's Minerva's sister and so-called Tennessee's sister. Nothing more than that, so it would be really interesting to learn more, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna learn more about Sophie in episode 3, either from Minerva, from Lily, or who knows, she might have been. But as you said, this is a really interesting pick. But if you were to ask me, I'm gonna say she's already dead. To me personally, she doesn't have that much to give to the story, to the plot. But overall, it's a really interesting pick nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
And for me, number 3, it is, no surprise, Willie. Now, listen, okay, I don't need any reason, I don't have any reason, because this sucker needs to die by episode 3. Willie, I cannot stand him. I cannot literally, this kid, though his logic, whatever, I cannot stand it. But all jokes aside, I personally think that apart from Ruby and Ten, he's most likely to die because of his rage. You all remember Mitch, because of his rage that got him into, getting close to Lily, which, lead to his death. even though I hated Mitch, it's still rest in peace, Mitch. So I think that, you know, Mitch's death is gonna get into Willie's head. He's already in his head, and that's gonna let him do some stupid stuff, some stupid actions, whether here in the school, outside, or in Delta, doesn't matter. He's gonna die by the end of episode 3, and people are gonna be like, oh my god, the literal god died. I don't care, I just want him to be dead. What do you think about this, Inferno?
Yeah, I definitely do agree with Willie actually dying. That's definitely gonna be a weird point because of, you know, he's so, not saying that young people are exempt from death, but he's young. He doesn't really add that much to the story at this point. He was really just just complimented Mitch very well. Now we have Mitch gone. I'm kind of wondering, like, you know, what's next for Willie as a character. Obviously that beef with Ten's gonna happen, so that could be it for that. And it seems like, you know, everything that Willie has been doing hasn't really helped out. He's just been so, you know, violent for no reason, and it's not really helping out. So it makes sense that Willie will actually be one to die. And, you know, not saying that I wouldn't really miss Willie, to be honest. It wouldn't really be that much to me. He was all right. He wasn't anything like amazing. He was just there for me, at least. So I definitely do agree with the whole Willie dying aspect.
Great. But one more thing I want to add is that you said that he was okay. For me, he was not, and he's not. I just can't stand this dude. But yeah, let's move on.
All right then. My number 2 would have to be either, or, you know, not really either, determinately, whoever you did not choose to save, Violet or Lewis. Now, this one is, of course, probably on everybody's list because determinate characters are kinda slated for death in a way. Looking back at more Telltale games, for the most part, they always die. But this could actually be different, you know. Having to save them in episode 2, that's an option. It was a lot different because they actually survived. And I think that they will probably, one of them will end up dying at the very end. Obviously one of them, you know, whoever you did not choose to save from Lily's abduction will end up dying. Probably towards the end. It would make sense. It would definitely make a lot of sense for that to happen. And, you know, because these two characters are just so good, having one actually die would definitely impact the players, because at the end of episode 2, we're kind of like, oh no, they took either Violet or Lewis, and it kind of hurt you a little bit, but it wasn't as impactful as a death. And I don't think that it was a bad thing to go ahead and, you know, capture them alive. It was definitely a good thing, but I feel like they're just holding them as of right now to kind of just go ahead and do that first initial impact, and then at the end of episode 3 do that final impact where they end up dying. So what do you think about either Violet or Lewis, whoever you did not choose to save, dying?
That's a really interesting thing. You see, this is a really good call, because having either one to die by the end of episode 3 is really gonna impact player on a high level, especially if they kill the one that you didn't choose or the one you did choose. Either way, like whoever, like, let's say if you choose Violet and Lewis dies, or if you choose Violet and Violet dies, like in both dynamics, like obviously the one you chose obviously gonna hurt a lot, but if you're saving them, like if you're saving one person for the finale of episode 4 and killing the other person so that it's all between Clementine, AJ, and the person you saved, that has to be one of the best writings the Telltale ever did, because let's face it, Telltale did that. Telltale wrote the story. Skybound just took over, and we thank Skybound for that. That's epic and that's great. But for me personally, like if you ask me, like, well, that's gonna happen, I personally don't see it happening, because I think they're saving the deaths, like the emotional deaths, for episode 4. But hey, that's just my opinion. But I would love to see that either way. Yeah, for my number 2 pick, now this was a tie between 2 people. I can choose 2 people, that's fine. I can choose 2 people for 2nd pick. Abel, okay, and James. Now, listen, At first I was just adding Abel into the list, and I was like, no, that's not enough. But then I was like, okay, let's add James to the list. So I just added both into the second list. The thing is, if you pick Abel to die, I'm personally, like, I've been calling this that Abel's gonna die by the end of episode 2. Either he's gonna die by the torture of kids, which is not gonna happen. Either he's gonna die while helping us, or either he's just gonna give his life up for like, freak it, I've been bad my whole life, and you know, well, that's the way I'm going, which is not gonna happen, but it's like, it's a possibility. So that's for Abel, because even if he's like, if he's dead, it's not gonna add that much to the ongoing plot on the ongoing story, but it's interesting as to how people are gonna react when he's gonna die while giving up his life for the safety of the kids. That's the first. Kids, not kiss. Kids. Sorry about that. The second one is James. The reason I think James gonna die because of the trailer we saw yesterday. We've seen two things. Number one, and we already know about this. Clementine going in Walker's guts by the end of the trailer, and Clementine wearing the Whisperer mask. Making a choice between these two and letting James come along with us, he's definitely gonna get, he's open to threat. So either he's gonna be brutally injured by the end of episode 3, or I'm calling it he's gonna die by the end of episode 3, because we need some deaths to have an impact on the players, so that players are like emotionally invested and come back for episode 4, so we can have more impactful deaths in episode 4, and in episode 3 they can leave us with, you know, Abel's and James' death. What do you think about this?
Yes, that was actually my third pick right there, but you know, I have somebody to compliment that. But Abel was definitely one that I thought was, you know, definitely gonna die, probably, you know, somewhere in episode 2, but you know, episode 3 is also a possibility because he's been through a lot, so much. He's been pushed out the window, lost his arm determinately, and he's been messed up by Clementine and AJ and even Rosie. So there's a lot going on with Abel where he's just taking so many hits at once, and he's probably going to end up biting the dust in episode 3. And it's really interesting to go ahead and think about it, because which way will he go? Will he turn on the Delta camp and help out the boarding school, or will he not do that and continue to be loyal to them? Because you gotta realize that, you know, Lily left him there to pretty much die for the most part, or at least, you know, left him to be in the custody of the boarding school kids. So will he actually turn against the Delta? He was a little bit hesitant in the trailer we saw. He was, you know, still kind of like, oh, Lily won't give up the kids and everything like that. So I'm wondering, will he still stay evil, and will he die in some other way? Or will we have the choice to go ahead and either let him die or just, you know, keep him alive or things like that? So it's a lot of things that can go on with Abel that I'd like to see, because he's definitely been a good staple, and I'm not sure if, you know, killing him would be too early, or would it be just the right amount of time, because he has made a huge impact on the season so far, but I can definitely see some potential in him for more if he does not die in episode 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like what I'm really interested in Abel is that if he gonna find that balance? Is he gonna go from evil to, you know, a little bit lighthearted? Like, that's what I'm really looking forward to see. Like, that's the same with Lily, and that's the same for, well, for me at least. That I'm really looking forward to. Like, what are they're gonna do with Abel, because we know that the kids are going to Delta. So what are they gonna do with Abel? Like, what he's gonna do while we're there, like while we're fighting? Is he gonna come with us? Is he gonna still be in the basement or whatever they've locked him up? Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
And I also want to harp off your other option of James. I'm not entirely sure. You know, it definitely makes sense for him to actually maybe die in this episode, because he is injured. You saw with the bandage on, he is injured, so it could possibly lead to something there. And Clementine actually taking the role of actually controlling the walkers instead of James is a little bit of a head scratcher there. So I'm kind of on the fence. I would definitely really be sad if James were to die, because he has been a help, and it seems like he would actually help even more in episode 3. So that would definitely be an impactful death. I don't know if I would feel like it would be a bit too early, but you know, if they went ahead and killed him off in episode 3, I would definitely feel impacted. maybe a bit cheated, but I would definitely be impacted by his death there.
Yeah, because let's face it, there are only 4 episodes. If there were 5 episodes, I would have saved him for episode 4 ending, but there are only 4 episodes, so they have to like clear all the second parties just so that we can have higher people for episode 4 finale, because like episode 4, we know it's like it's gonna be mostly around like Clem and AJ only. We can add Violet or Lewis into that mix, but yeah, I'm like, it's not like something I'm really like, so oh, it's gonna happen 100%, but it's like I said, 50-50. Abel 50, James 50. Both of them, like you said, like James' death is gonna be impactful. Why? Because in episode 2 he had a mass following already, and people are loving him already. People want him as a romance option. First of all, the reason I added him to the list is because he's the last thing I'm looking forward to. But his death would definitely be impactful nonetheless. Yeah,
definitely understand all of that. So one thing that I wanted to point out for the most part, obviously Abel was my third one, so I can't really go with that. I also had some thought about, other characters that could possibly die, and I was thinking, Rosie, kind of a stretch there, but the dog, Rosie, Marlon's dog, the boarding school dog, could possibly die. I mean, I can see it happening for the most part. Rosie has done, she done a little bit. She bit Abel for the most part. She kind of helps out every now and again. And I'm not entirely sure how long they want to keep Rosie. Is she going to help out? Or was she? I don't know. Because like it's kind of tricky because you don't want to bring a dog to a stealth op. Okay, like she'd be barking. Obviously, would throw him off. So will she just stay at the boarding school and survive the whole season, or will she end up coming along or dying? It's something to think about, but I'm not entirely sure because if we're gonna end up possibly leaving at some point, maybe something doesn't go right, Rosie could end up dying. Hopefully protecting Clementine or AJ or somebody, that would definitely be awesome. So what do you think about Rosie so far? Has she been a little bit underutilized? What do you think? I don't know.
Rosie is definitely like one of those characters, I can call it characters because it's a dog, that has like this massive following. It has like capability to do something big, but the writers and the developers like don't know what to do with that. I personally, like you said, like Rosie being alone in the school while we're in Delta, I mean, she can play with the Abel. That's a one possibility. And no, in all seriousness, definitely you cannot bring her to a stealth mission, especially when you're walking in Walker's guts or wearing a Walker's mask. Like, how is that gonna help? Like, definitely I can see, one thing I'm gonna call out on this one is that we've seen in screenshots of James and Clem, where you can see James getting shot on the hand or whatever. That part I think is where we had Rosie, because remember, as Sim said, we can take Rosie outside to catch the scent, whatever. So maybe we've been hunting outside and we got someone in the woods that we got fight against. James got shot, we killed some people, Rosie gets shot, she dies. That might be one of the possibilities. It's a stretch, I know, but it's something nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's definitely something to think about. So what is your final one?
Oh, this is juicy. I mean, people are gonna be like, fam, this is too early, but Minerva. Okay, listen. I can't help but think about Minerva, her looks, her eyes. I mean, her weapon. So basically, what I was thinking about all of this is, first of all, we didn't know that Minerva was gonna appear in episode 3. I kind of hated that they showed her in episode 3 trailer, because it would have been a fantastic surprise. Well, at least for me, fantastic surprise. I would have been dead by that time. But now that they showed her and her existence, I think first of all she's gonna make a huge impact, because we know that she's brainwashed. She's Lily's personal guard. In that screenshot you can see she was standing behind Lily. So I personally think that Minerva, we're gonna help her in some way. Like, we're gonna try to get her mind back. Like, well, this is Violet, this is Clementine, we're trying to help with the good guys, you're being with the bad guys, you're a bad person, whatever. And first of all, she's gonna play along, and at the end she's gonna give her life for the safety of us, for the school kids, especially for the safety of her previous girlfriend, Violet. Now I'm not gonna talk about. There's another possibility of her death. The how it's gonna play out in the. Okay, so on the Reddit, I found this on the Reddit, but someone said in a theory that there is a high possibility that Clementine versus Minerva might be a thing. Minerva is all mad because Violet is with Clementine now, you know, the love triangle, and that might brought a fight between Minerva and Clem. That would be so dirty from Clementine's side, because then Minerva's death is now on Clem's hands. How Violet is gonna react to all of this, that is something I personally want to see. Clementine, well, not happily, but it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do in an apocalypse, right? So it's like we have to kill Minerva because she's losing everything, and it's the only way to give her peace, and that's why Clementine kills her, and that's gonna brought a lot of bad things to Violet, and the relationship between Violet and Clementine is gonna go to some shizzle. But at the same time, I'm calling this a week because I don't think that writers are gonna do injustice with the players. If they're gonna do so bad, like so much drama on Violet and Clementine, there has to be something more with Lewis and Clem. So it's like people are gonna say, oh, they have more preference in this side. So anything is possible. These were my predictions. I think Minerva is gonna die by the end of episode 3, which is gonna leave a huge impact on by the end of episode 3. And if your theory of Lewis or Violet's death by the end of episode 3 happens, think about it. Minerva's death affecting Violet, and then Violet's death by episode 3. How many deaths are we gonna have in episode 3? That's crazy. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, that's definitely, either way, I think it'll be pretty impactful to, something at least involving Minerva, whether it be her dying, or I saw an interesting little comment in my comment section one time talking about what if Minerva didn't die, but she, or at least somebody in the Delta, caused 10 to die. And that could be an interesting dynamic, because we have 10 over here. He's feeling bad about, coming out and, possibly getting Mitch killed. So what if he were to come along to the op and, he sees Minerva over here trying to be with the Delta, but he isn't really having that. He wants his sister back, and he ends up possibly getting killed. And that could be something that actually snaps Minerva out of her whole brainwash thing. That was definitely something that would be really interesting, because if we end up in the episode learning more about 10, we've already been with him since episode 1 into episode 2. We know a good bit about 10, and learning more about him in episode 3, and then having that whole scene where he possibly dies and Minerva's like, what have you done to my brother? That would be an interesting thing to happen, and I'm not entirely sure which one I want to happen. Would it be just 10 dying or Minerva dying? It's definitely really cool to think about, what would happen in either situation. So I'm not entirely sure which one that I would want. Maybe I feel like if Minerva were to die, it wouldn't be as impactful. Yeah, it would impact Violet or Lewis or whoever else in the boarding school, because Minerva, who has been there for a little bit, died. But us as a player, we don't know much about Minerva. We're gonna learn about her obviously in episode 3, but it isn't as much, introducing somebody to kill him off, at the end, it wouldn't be as impactful as I think, having 10 possibly die, and then that impacting us as a player because we know 10 a little bit, and then that impacts Minerva and everybody else. So that's what I think about that.
Great, interesting, and that's why I'm not so confident about it. I should have added this into the third one, so that second and first should be the one strong, but it was a possibility. Listen, you bring a really good point of 10. I wanted to add him to the list of this. I should have added that 50-50 for Minerva and 10, because like you said, people that are emotionally invested in 10. I've seen playthroughs of people even after what Tennessee didn't listen to us and what got everything, getting Mitch killed or whatever. People were still like, it's okay, dude, we understand, it was your sisters, you're a kid, definitely understandable. So I wanted to add one more thing to this. I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but there is a high possibility of like you said, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, but what if the cause of Ten's death was Clementine? I know I'm all over the place, but hear me out. Ten's death, Clementine is the cause of Ten's death, and which lead to Minerva being all angry on Clementine, which lead to Clem killing Minerva, so we can have like a lot of that. Listen, I know people are gonna be like, you got some problems, you're just killing every character, I know, but listen, it's Walking Dead, it's Apocalypse, like I want to see some deaths. It makes me emotionally invested into the story, and I mean there are a lot of people to care about. And just one more thing I want to add about Tennessee is that from episode 1 I'm not that emotionally invested in him, just like I'm not emotionally invested in Lewis from day one. He's great and all that, but I'm not that emotionally invested in Lewis. The same goes for Ten. The opposite goes for Willie. I hate that dude, I cannot stand him. And well, same goes for James. Oh, dang, I hate a lot of characters, but that was the thing I wanted to add. Like I can see Ten's death, but I'm thinking like either of Minerva or Ten's death, either they both gonna die, either they both gonna be alive, but it's gonna happen like something one or another, like they're gonna balance each other. Like if one's dead, it's gonna be because of the other, or the other way around. But yeah, that's interesting nonetheless, because what is episode 3 is all about at this point? Minerva, Delta, right? Because episode 4 is gonna be more about Clem and AJ and, you know, being the final days. So yeah, any final thoughts about episode 3?
Definitely. I definitely do see that whole Clementine versus Minerva aspect being a very, very interesting concept, especially if you went with Violet as a romance option. It just opens up so much in terms of people who are invested in Violet as a character, because it, you know, it ends up affecting Ten, Minerva, us, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff that kind of just builds upon each other and snowballs up, and it's really, really interesting to go that way. So I can definitely see that happening, whether it be just, you know, the whole Clem versus Minerva because of Clem actually causing Ten's death, or maybe even just, you know, Minerva ends up snapping out of the whole thing because of Ten's death. Either way, I think those are just, you know, both good options, and I hope that they actually go with one of those, or maybe not, because we kind of, you know, are talking about it and maybe knows what's going on. But that would definitely be really interesting to see what happens, because I think a whole Minerva versus Clementine thing could actually be pretty cool. Especially, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on, you know, especially with Clementine wanting to possibly could end up fighting Minerva. Then she has to go ahead and go through Lily. A bunch of stuff. It's definitely a lot. So hopefully we get to see a lot from Minerva, and hopefully she is a great character, because I would definitely love that. And as far as for episode 4 being the whole Clementine and AJ thing, I'm really hoping that just not everybody dies. Like, I hope there are some people who, you know, survive the season in a way. It's kind of weird because this is the final season, therefore leaving things open can be a bit like, what's going on? But I think of it like the whole ending of season 1. You know, obviously people who lived, like Omid and Krista, they lived at the end of season 1, and that was wrapped up pretty well. I did like that. So hopefully things can go in a direction that leaves us with enough deaths that impact us as players, but also leaving it open for endings that could be bittersweet, or maybe not, because hopefully it could end up to your choice. That's all I gotta say.
Interesting, because, you know, I mean, they have to have some character from episode 1 to live till episode 4 to make it more emotional, because somebody's got to be there with Clementine when she's gonna die. Okay, I know it's a stretch. She's not gonna die. That, I mean, maybe not. It's something to talk about later. We're talking about episode 3 deaths, but yeah, those were my pick. Those were Inferno's pick. Just to add one more stuff to all of this, episode 3 has a lot, like you said, a lot of things to look forward to. We got Rock's sister, Badger, clone, so much stuff. But here's the thing, like, what is the main purpose of episode 3? Episode 1 was to find a home. Episode 2 was to maintain that home. Episode 3 is kind of sort of protect your home, right? Is this like the whole thingy going on, right? To protect your home.
I would say that pretty much.
Yeah, because you know, finding your home, maintaining your home, protecting your home. So that's gonna leave us to the finale of episode 4. But it is interesting. This final season has been so good, and it's like we want it, but we don't want to end it. Like we don't want to have like whatever. Like this is great. So far it's very great, good, amazing writing. I wish that Telltale was here to finish their thing as their final project, but it is what it is. But that's pretty much it from me. Anything you want to say, how you felt about this collab, because you know it's a multi-network thing? How do you feel about this?
Yes, I definitely love doing collabs a lot with anybody for the most part. It's definitely been really fun to kind of hear perspectives from other people like yourself. You bring up a lot of great points. Hopefully we can do a sequel.
Ooh, sequel. I see you. Oh, I'm all up for that. But it's the audience, it's the people who are watching. They gotta let us know if they want to see more of us doing. I mean, I'm ready for weekly podcast with Inferno. One day. Well, he's kind of busy with really tight schedule, which like I'm kind of inferior when it comes to Inferno and me. So I'm the inferior one because he's like fantastic in everything. So anyways, thank you so much for giving me your precious time. Not just
to you as well.
Not just 33 minutes that we were talking to each other, but before that. And yeah, I'm really honored to be in a video with someone that I've kind of looked up to in the past. It's not that I don't do that now. I mean, it's still the same, but it's like kind of friends, right? We're friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're friends. I guess. All right. Okay, that's a rejection thingy, whatever. But anyways, that's pretty much it for today's video. Let us know how you think about this. Go to Inferno's channel, link in description. He's amazing. I'm kind of jealous that Nicky Rap always commented on his videos and not mine. I'm kind of Lily fan too, but whatever. But yeah, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to become an official member of SmackNPie. This is Smack. I will of course see you soon, and then take care of yourself and your family. Stay humble and be grateful, and peace.